Yeah.
Oh my god, that was brutal.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
Good. Fantastic. Yeah.
All right, let's get this thing started. All right.
I wish video, so we could just do completely shirtless episodes.
Right.
Am I the first one on this video?
Yes. So we did one in person via video, just impromptu in my truck, and I was like, "This shouldn't be video.
Yeah.
We should just." So I'm working on cutting that one down to just audio because I can separate them on here.
Nice.
So, yeah. We may use clips of that if I'm feeling really froggy, to put those out, but I don't know. We keep saying we're gonna do it, and
then we don't.
Yeah, and then we don't.
Yeah. Gotcha. But, no, how's it in Ohio?
Rainy.
It's a godforsaken state.
And it's the worst state in the country. I'm so excited for this game, and I am so unexcited for this state. Yeah. There's no sweet tea. Yeah. There's potholes everywhere. It's
lots of corn. Lots of corn everywhere.
Definitely lots of corn.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah. There's beans.
Corn and beans.
They've got a heavy rotation of beans this year. This has become the agriculture episode. Right. So they're really rotating through, getting that phosphorus back in the soil.
You know? Yeah. Well, you're talking to the right guy. Well, one of the people, anyway.
Yeah. Hey, how is the, we're trying a new mic. Are we coming across, fairly clear over there?
Yeah, you guys are great.
Okay, awesome. Nice. Good to know that little bit of Amazon money I spent is coming out. Nice. Go to the other side of them. I think we'll start.
What the fuck do you mean the other side? Well, the bottom?
Yeah. That's the only other side.
I don't know what the fuck you meant.
Okay. We are so good at this.
I know what kind of episodes it's going to be, yeah.
We are succeeding only because no one else is trying.
That's right.
So anyway, we'll get official with this. All right, so returning guest, Josh Macintosh.
Yeah.
Our first video guest, hopefully. As long as I can actually edit and get this out. If not, we'll punt back to the usual stuff.
Right.
But this episode was Josh's idea. And I want to make that very clear from Josh said, hey, let's have an episode where we give people the chance to ask whatever they want to ask, kind of. I don't want to say clear the air, because from my side, I wouldn't use that wordage, but I think some people would.
Right.
Yeah.
But just to give people the floor to ask whatever questions, because No Fame ends up with a lot of talk around it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about it. So I gave everyone the opportunity to ask questions via our Instagram anonymously. Part of it, honestly, was self-preservation from my side, because I don't want to give anyone the idea that I dislike or like more than I should any one particular person in this. We created a tiny little platform, and people can come on it, honestly. I don't give a shit.
People can come.
Yeah.
To us.
Do not come.
Do not
come. We've had a couple beers. Anyway,
it reminds me of the Nick Ponzio episode.
Yes, that was a good time. I wish we had video for that one. That would have been
great, actually.
Yeah. We'll have to. He may, spoiler alert, come down for our October game.
Yeah,
so
he should.
I'm gonna try and get him.
I'll have to record picking him up from the airport.
Please do. Please.
Yeah, that would be great. He's coming to Maine, and he supposedly is going to go train with Matt Vincent and do a little camp with him.
Nice. Where does Matt Vincent actually live at now?
I don't know. I talked to him today. He's in Uganda with the nonprofit he works for, and then he's coming back, I think, on the 10th.
Okay.
But I'm not sure where he lives exactly.
Yeah, I'd
stop. Sure Matt knows.
Yeah, no. There's a certain amount of psychedelics, and after a certain point, do you live anywhere?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
All right. Well, Josh, is there anything you want to talk about before we just get into all the questions that people submitted?
Yeah. My big thing here is, look, I'm not trying to be anybody's hero or savior or guru or try to make NFG, at the forefront of the Highland Games. That was never the intention in the beginning. We really just came together as a bunch of guys and some gals and just wanted to throw. And then it just exploded using social media. So, I'm definitely not perfect. I never wanted NFG to have one face. I wanted it to be the face of everybody. But at the same time, because it's an LLC now, that it's under my name. so, so we can get into, that definitely has a lot to do with, I think, what questions will be asked, is kind of the structure of what NFG is and where we're at. So, I'm definitely imperfect. I guess what I'll say is, and going back to the Doc Holliday, I'm your Huckleberry. Like I'm not really scared to call bullshit out. At this point in my life and everything I've seen, I know a lot of people have gone through a lot of different things, but with everything I've seen, I'm just not scared to call it out and have a conversation. Not like that I'm better or being judgmental necessarily, but just have a conversation. So.
Cool. All right. Then we'll jump into it. The only other thing I will add on is the way I structured this is for anyone watching or listening. I didn't tell Josh what the questions were until probably like 4 or 5 hours ago because I both didn't want to blindside you, but also didn't want people to get the impression that like, hey, I told them what these were 3 weeks ago when we asked for them, so that we could all have some sort of thing. So Josh has known about these for a few hours, just so I'm not being a dick to someone I enjoy chatting with.
I've known him for 20 minutes or so.
Yes. So.
No, it's all good, guys. Look, this is to clear the air. I'm not looking for trouble. I want to hear what people have to say.
I've found in my line of work that if you don't give people very explicit outlines, they're going to assume that you did something else. So I'm telling everyone, that's how we structured this. Here you go.
Yeah, so, that's very true.
Yeah, with that being said, the very first question that we're going to do is, it seems like you try to stir the shit. Why not just focus on producing great games that empower all throwers?
Yeah, I think that we're doing that. I don't think that we're not creating good games. I'm managing now 3 games. They're all high caliber. Home games was 147 athletes together. Of the pros, there was 8 pros. And so you can do the math. And then for the Highlander, there was 65, 70, something like that. So, I hope that we are definitely creating games that are for everybody. That's what home games is very centric on the athlete, the everyday athlete. That's how it was, created. And, Maine took a little roller coaster ride. The group of us with Moose, Justin Gagne, and Nicholas McPhee, and then Will Barron, when we were asked to take over Maine, because it was going to die, it was going to go away. So we decided that, Allison Tosteven, who was the former athletic director, she told us that she was going to step aside, and she asked me personally if I would take over. So they kind of, Will Barron and a few of the other guys asked, well, why don't we make it an Elite Games and make Maine an Elite Games? And then that kind of, I think pissed some people off. And I just said, okay, well, let's go for it. It's just 1 year. It was going to be our first year. It would make the number of athletes less, so it's more manageable for us. Matthew, you were there. And and now Maine is open. Maine is open registration.
1 pro. Shut
up. Yeah. And, but yeah, look, as I said before in the preface, that I'm not scared to stir the shit. I respect, as a traditionalist, the old guard. But I'm not just going to let stuff slide that I don't think is right. And I think that we can get into the shit that has been stirred if you want to.
Yeah, do you, one, would love to. We'll definitely do that. But my follow-up question, do you think that that's what people are seeing and are mistaking you for intending to stir up shit when it could just be you saying, hey, I'm just going to be vocal when I see it already being stirred? Do you think that is where the lens is getting shifted? Or
yeah, that's a great question.
How would you think that someone got to this conclusion?
I don't know that, and that's kind of why it's interesting to see these questions, right? Is to see people's perspective. Um, I don't like actively go out and look for shit to stir. It just, and I think that
Just a
that's
shit
something.
magnet. Is that
I'm a shit magnet. I mean, look, I'm a professional chef. I'm a problem solver. I get shit done for billionaires on a daily basis and celebrities. That's what I do. And I'm not scared to like just back down. I'm not scared and back down from things that I find are unjust or from bullies, like I think the big shit, it's really, I think just because of what NFG has become, whatever it has become in its social media presence, that it's like a lot of people contact us. A lot of people contact the account, say, hey, did you hear about this? What do you think of this? I'm like, I don't fucking know, man, but I'll tell you what my opinion is. Like I'm not an authority on Highland Games. I'm not trying to be an authority on Highland Games, but I will say that I've been really, really lucky to have mentors like Dr. Bill Crawford or Steve Conway or Jenny McDaniel, like people that I look up to. And I definitely ask a lot of questions. I ask questions of people who are better than me so that I can learn.
Yeah. And that could very well be it. Could be a lot of a numbers game because, I mean, Matt, you've got what, 1,400-ish followers on Instagram? I think you're 100-ish ahead of me. Okay, 18 maybe now.
I don't know.
I've got 13. I don't get but so many DMs. I mean, comparatively, No Fame has a lot more followers, so it would make sense that more people are going to DM you asking about X, Y, and Z, and that's going to... For you to go into a niche sport and say, hey, 10 people asked me about a thing, that's like...
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when in reality, it's just 10 people who wear skirts on the weekends and throw rocks. But...
Yeah, I honestly, I think that perspective is really important. Look, guys, like at the end of the day, like this is a hobby right now, and I will say though that in the beginning, NFG started as, look, we're just like backyarder type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to put on a party. Like I like to have people come together and have a good time. And I said, well, why can't I have my cake and eat it too at a games and then just grow the games? And so it grew. And now it's become, more of, it's gotten more attention. So more people look at it. And look, that's why we got Sports Illustrated tickets and Sports Illustrated magazine looking at us.
Yeah.
That doesn't just happen. That's a multi-year process. Mm-hmm. Because and I think this is really important to say, like our intention with the group of us at NFG was to highlight the sport, was to highlight men and women and to help, develop the sport.
Yeah.
So, promote it, to help it, Another thing too is Dr. Bill Crawford and Steve Conway asked me to help with the pro classes, particularly the pro men's class, just to help encourage it, to help bring it up because they're really afraid that it was dying. That was in grave danger. So, and if we don't have a pro class as a sport, there's really nothing to, yeah, look, it can just be a backyard thing, but for people like you, Matthew, and Jeremy, I don't mean to ostracize you, but like for Matthew,
we can revisit this episode in like 2 years, and then it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, well, from a track and field background, like you said, I've heard you say many times that if you just came in and slayed everybody, then you would have been like, no, this is boring. Fuck this.
Yeah, I wouldn't have stuck around. The fact that I can be part of Team USA and have a world championship is all that matters to me as an athlete. So.
Right.
If we didn't have a pro class, I'd be really, really good at this sport.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be, top 10 there, Jeremy.
Yeah, it'd be fucking sweet. Right. All the people that care would leave. Right?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But
the top 10 would just be all the guys over 6'3".
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Do that, man.
All right. So the next question that I'm gonna hit is NFG seems infatuated with elite/pro throwers. The regular throwers provide the numbers that pay for the games, and they don't get to see the elite/pro throwers. Do you feel like you are creating a community or an opportunity just to have top throwers have their community? And I'm going to address like one very quick thing before we get your your answer.
Yeah.
Amateur throwers don't pay for the pro throwers. I fell into that trap pre-being an AD, and I'm very new into being an AD, and you think, oh, I'm paying registration fees, yada yada. Your registration fees are a drop in the bucket, whether they're $10 or $40. That is getting your shirt and your lunch and your awards. Like, it really doesn't leave me room to do anything else. I completely understand why people can think that, but if you go talk to an AD, you will find out very quickly that it feels like y'all are contributing a lot when it's costing 10 grand to put this game on. I'm not making that off of your registrations. Like,
yeah, you guys are ADs, so you guys get that, you know.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that's really important to understand is No Fame Games was not associated with a festival. It's still not associated with a festival. It is totally homegrown. So all of the finances have to come from either sponsorships, and I'll tell you, registration maybe pays for shirts, and water, and, you know, some awards.
Yeah.
It really doesn't pay for much else, especially like last year we had a $4,000 hotel bill for the pros. You know, like that, and that's our choice because we want to help support the pros. That was what we were asked to do. It's important. I think, look, I'm not trying to demean whoever asked this question. I think, though, it's really ill-informed from a business side, or I should just say from a logistical side of how a games is run, which is what you just said. It's, yes, registration helps. It helps, really, it helps like with the running of the games in the non-pro classes. You know, it helps with, as I said, shirts. Look, like, we pay the judges. We pay the equipment to come. We do rental. We want to make sure that our guy, Kenny Gustafson, who's like the local guy, he gives all of New England equipment, want to give him some money. You know, that doesn't just come from nowhere. Like, most of my time, and look, this is unpaid for me. Like, yes, it's an LLC for me, and I have paid 5 figures into NFG to keep it alive the past couple of years. You know, it's not like it's something that, and to keep it going, like, you know, social media isn't just like, you know, a viral thing. Like, I'm not just selling ass shots and, you know, naked pictures, you know, commando style kill.
You could.
That's an option.
Yeah, it's on the table.
We could do a calendar.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that has come across.
But hey, if we do a Going Rogue calendar, send us some shots. We'll throw you in there. You be Mr. Pick a Month.
Yeah, the ADs of the Highland Games.
I'll just be the
between us 4 and like Danny Webster,
Chad.
Oh my God, we're selling.
Chad would be great. Danny Webster would be great. Yeah. Oh my God, this could go many ways.
It's going to go all of them.
But so, look, you know, I hear you as a non-pro. Look, I'm a non-pro. I pay to go compete. Right? You know, like, I'm happy to pay a registration fee because, as from now in the seat of having been an athletic director, like, to you guys, I would happily pay your registration fee because I know what it takes to put on a game.
Yeah.
And
which that could be a whole episode in and of itself. I don't even necessarily want to like dive into the full logistics, but I think it is worth bringing up that, like, it's not paying for nearly what everyone thinks it is.
Yeah, you know, I wish it would. And look, like, this was the first year that we charged tickets because, like, look, I've, and I don't know about you guys. I don't want to speak, you know, for you, but I've put in thousands of hours into this, and you know, and that is, it's a passion project. I'm not looking to be a martyr at all. Like, I've chosen to do this. But the first year, this is the reason why we didn't go into the red this year, was because we sold some tickets, and it just helped. It helped with everything. Like, look, No Fame Games is an LLC. You guys are businessmen. Like, you understand that there are operating expenses for an LLC throughout the year. And I'm not looking to become rich out of NFG. I'm looking to have it be the way. Right. Well, and I think that that's important because, look, a lot of these questions are going to be, I'm sure, about intention. What is the intention that I'm doing? What is the intention of NFG? And look, infatuation with the pros, like, look, hey, it's fun to watch pros. It's fun to watch amateurs. It's fun to watch non-pros, especially good ones. But it's really fun to watch pros throw. I'm an enthusiast of excellence. I'm an enthusiast. I'm infatuated with professionalism, and someone who's put in hours and hours and hours into technique and weight training, or specific training for these throws. And I'm happy to highlight them in a reel. I'm happy to give them a little bit more exposure. And here's the thing, like, I'll tell you what, and as much as it may hurt a lot of people's feelings, hurt my feelings, like I don't put videos of myself throwing, but I put videos up of people throwing that is a banger. And I tell you, that's why we have the attention of Sports Illustrated. That's why I was able to get sponsors like Cerberus USA to come in and do more of a sponsorship. Like to have Ken come down, to get Hannah, to get Nick Ponzio, to get like these kind of star celebrity, people to come out. It's because of our social media. It's because of what we've curated. And look, I love, like, we did some reels about the 70-year-old woman, 70, I'm not sure if she's 71 or not, who just broke a world record in that class. It's not like, that's not, Sports Illustrated or other people don't really care, about that stuff. They care about bigger, like the Megan McKee or the Christine or like the Spencer Tylers or like, the John Van Burens. They want to see that.
Yeah.
So like it's a balance. And yeah, I hear you that it seems like we are very focused on the pros. And I made a video about this, I think last year, specifically on this subject of why we focused on the pros. And it was because I was just straight up asked to please don't forget about the pros.
Some of your sponsors will even want that out of you. Like that is a part of getting their sponsorship dollars, is they want that on the backside. Hey, if I'm going to pay for X, Y, and Z, they want to see something for that.
They do. Yeah, they do. And that's why it's a lot of pressure and a lot of time to make these reels. Each reel takes an hour plus at least. I'm really detail oriented, and a reel can take between an hour to 4 hours because I just want to get the timing right. I want to get it all right, and I want to help support the community. I want to help support us, and there are so many different channels. Like, here's the other thing too. If someone wants to do a collab reel, just give me a DM. I'm not like, against non-pros and connecting with non-pros. Like if it's a banger, it's a banger. And if NFG can be used to help, just the general community, that's awesome. Like it's kind of become that thing where it's beyond me in a way.
Yeah, and then the only other caveat I'm going to add before we move on to the next one is the second part of this was, they say, and they don't even get to see the pro throwers, and already just creating a community for pros. Yeah, you don't get to see the pros because you're not a pro thrower and you signed up to go throw. If you want to watch pro throwers, go buy a ticket. Like that's very much an option. Yeah. They're both on the. You don't get to throw at the same game and go watch the pros all day. If that's what you wanted to do, you either need to go pro.
Yeah.
Or just not throw that game, go buy a ticket, or go volunteer and go shag. There are 1,000 other ways for you to, if your goal is, look, if you throw 8 games a year and you cut one of those to go volunteer and just reach out to the AD and say, hey man, I want to show up and help volunteer with your pro class, they'll probably take you. Oh yeah, we need people. Like,
yeah, no, here's the thing too. There's twofold answer to that is, or just in addition to that, is one, as an enthusiast of excellence in athletics, I love being around other excellent throwers. I love being around people who are better than me, whether I'm looking at them or just able to go up and talk to them and just have a conversation. That's one thing that I feel is like really valuable. And then two, you're right. If you want to volunteer, man, I will be one of your best friends. Like if you want to come out and actually offer your time and volunteer, like I'm doing essentially to help support, and make this happen, absolutely. Like that's, I think we're really missing a lot of that. And hey, look, how much do you guys pay or charge for a powerlifting meet or a strongman meet?
Oh, his strongman shows are more than our Highland games.
Yeah. Oh, by far, like 85 to 120. Kind of depends, but like around $100.
Yes. Right. So why
we're charging $45 for games?
So then, you guys can answer me this. Then, why are people so up in arms about paying to compete in Highland Games?
Because I think it's for probably several reasons. Historically, they'd only paid 10 to 15. And then I think as the older generation has left and the newer generation has come in and said, that's just not feasible. I'd stop running games if I had to charge a $10 entry fee. I wouldn't be able to do it. Between having to pay equipment rentals and judges and just food and t-shirts and prizes and all of that other, and the equipment that I have to keep buying. I keep saying, oh, this next sponsor, I'm going to finally use that to get the laptop to run the podcast off of, or the ring light and the microphone. Spoiler alert, I just went ahead and bought all this out of pocket because every time I get a little more sponsorship money, there's some other thing I need to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
For the game. It has so far been never ending. Supposedly there's a light at the end of the tunnel where I will break even and get to do the superfluous stuff. It hasn't happened yet. Like,
yeah, and that's going back to why, using social media to be able to, I use it as a business card for businesses to ask for sponsorships and do cold calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's people don't see the 2 hours it takes me to drive to our September games location.
Right.
And the 2 times I've had to go out there already. And the time I'm going to go out there next week now that they've signed their ticket contract and we're going to go get the field set up. And
yeah.
Cool. I drive an 8-year-old Toyota Tundra. It is not great on gas, but I need it to haul the games trailer. I can't get a Honda Civic. This doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just money I'm paying and miles I'm putting on my crap to go try and set this up.
I always have a hard time listening to people that aren't going and volunteering or doing more. Or I rode up to Ohio to volunteer for Dublin to help my boys out because it matters, and it's going to be.
If not us, then who?
If not us, then who? Like someone's got to do it. The game.
Wait, you're volunteering, Matt?
So we had the whole when I sat there and tried to drop. I made us a website the other day, and that cost me several $100s to get the domain done up and all the design, and it's a moderate website.
Right.
But I was like, we need to look like professionals if we're going to keep approaching venues and doing all this, and we've got to have one.
Yeah.
So it was huge for us too when we developed our websites. Hundreds, not thousands of dollars. To get it together, to maintain it, and that's not even like the time to put in.
Yeah, and then it's just the hours I'm sitting there going through and moving and changing templates. Yeah, no, if I build for my time anything, oh God, I'd be horribly in the red, way more than I am now. I am valuing my time at 0.
Yeah.
And then actually, strategy or branding or really putting it all together.
We're doing that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Doing all of that. Look, if you look at it from a business perspective, they hire out people to do all that. You take a business loan out, and I'm not going to risk that for the Highland Games. No, I love you guys, but I'm not going to go into that much debt and destroy my credit and my life, and my my child's future. For this? No. But yeah, look. Secondly, or a side note to that, Matt, did I just hear that you're volunteering your time right now?
Yeah, always. At most games.
This is probably the 3rd game that I know of that Matt's gone and volunteered so far this year.
My 8th game that I volunteered.
Yeah, that's why I said that I knew of. But yeah, if Matt's got a free weekend, and Matt doesn't have a kid and all of that stuff, so good for him. He can do that. But some people could pull a weekend or two. If you gave a shit, you could.
Right.
You could make it work.
Yeah. You can make it part of your family culture and tradition too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because if you're volunteering, you can say, hey, but I'm going to disappear for 2 hours in the middle of the day. You guys have fun. And I'll still take that free help. And then if from 12 to 2 you want to go walk your family around the festival, I'll take that, man. If I can plan around it.
So I remember someone asked me the other day why my opinion, Jeremy's opinion, any of our opinions actually mattered in the scheme of the sport.
Yeah.
It was my immediate answer was just sweat equity, right? Like, because we're there, like, because we're running games.
What'd you say about Heavy Athlete the other day? It's just two brothers and a dude.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just, What's the organization supporting this?
Yeah.
No,
it's just some guys.
Yeah, it's the McDougal brothers and another guy. Like,
hey, congrats, guys! That's
yeah.
That's really awesome.
So
I think that's the great part of the sport and our games, our community is like it is like the Wild West, and there is no governing body, and but there's also so many opinions.
Well, then even with like podcasts and stuff, I was like, man, I'd love, and Sinclair and them are doing one, so like I could have something to consume media wise, but I was like, I wish that other guys were still doing it, but they just weren't. So I like to hear my voice. I'll just go make one.
You guys got that.
Who else gets to listen to one? I'm sorry, it's me, but you get one, and I'm just sitting over here talking into a tripod for an hour at a time.
Hey, well, that's the shit. I mean, that's what we did with NFG, man. It's just, I really I love music, and I love the transition of a regular speed throw into when the implement's released slow-mo, and then timing that with a beat drop. And that's just how, we started that's how it started. And I was like, oh, this is cool, like, let's just do this. And then it grew and it grew, and then, became something else. But same with your podcast. Like, it's just, it's fun to shoot the shit. It's fun to just like talk and have a real instead of like we're all three of us are in a studio, with like, the headgear and professional camera work and all that. Like,
I refuse to spend the money and buy the giant stupid microphone things. I just
well, speaking of that,
it's also kind of a problem.
Speaking of that, though, in terms of expenses, those photographers that we hire for No Fame games are not cheap.
No.
They are. It's at least $1,200 to $1,500 per photographer, and a photographer, when there's 150 athletes, can only get so many athletes.
No, there's no way.
So if they're gonna, we had 3 photographers for home games. One of them was Jarrett McPhee's really good friend, Jason Zuko, and he did a lot of the still photo work, and he did it for free. Actually, Jarrett offered an exchange just to help support us at NFG for that, and his photos were fantastic. I think he took like 3,000 photos, and it was like, but the other videographers, like the Cerberus videographer, and then another videographer that I found, like, they're professional videographers, and where does that money come from? Well, it has to come from the trips. It doesn't come from registration, or it's going to come from, hopefully, ticket sales. And I tell you, if there's no guarantee on ticket sales. If it is raining, thank goodness that Sports Illustrated is coming in and trying to help out, because that can really help revolutionize.
Thank God you get the ticket sales, because I work with venues that are established; they get their ticket sales.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about home games is we have control, right? So other games with festivals, but I connected them with a lot of other festivals, and their numbers are better than Ticket Spice or Eventbrite or a lot of the other major ticketing apps. And not only that, they handle it themselves. They go and they take care of the gates. Plug for Sports Illustrated tickets, obviously, right now, but they handle the gates. Like, that's a big deal. That's why Maine got on and the Fort got on, was immediately as soon as they heard, oh, you guys bring people down and handle the gates. Holy shit. Yeah. Okay. Let's.
Yeah. It's a no risk way to enter into trying that out. I mean,
totally. And that's where they make their money, is with ticket sales. So they have an investment to make sure that people, those gates are manned. So that's a whole nother part of the business aspect.
All right. Well, we got more of these to get through, and we've been yapping. So relocked it.
Sorry,
dingus.
There you go.
All right. And some of these are starting to bleed together. So I'm sure we can trim this down a little. Do you think $60 entry fees will be the standard going forward? Got a time already said.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of covered that, but it's really whatever the AD thinks it is, and whatever the AD wants to charge, you should pay whatever the AD wants.
Don't just flick that. Go flush it. Yeah, get your dick out of here. I don't want that in my room. Got parasites. The boy's got worms. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Just to reiterate it, it's look. Watch anything out there right now. Inflation is everywhere. Yeah. And I mean, even the guy that I get my equipment from, everything's harder for him to find and more expensive. So if I'm trying to work something out with him right now so everyone can throw dope implements at our games, it costs money. I have to get money from somewhere. The t-shirts cost more than they did 5 years ago. The food costs more than it did 5 years ago. So while it may not be $60 necessarily dependent upon the game, it's stuff costs more now. I can't fix that.
Look, I'm not shy. Like, look. What do you know? Powerlifting meets $100, $120, $140.
Right, to lift a bunch of circles.
Yeah, and there's no, what you get a T-shirt and you get pain, and then maybe you get an award or you get a trophy. Same with strongman. It's around here it's $85 to $100.
Yeah.
For one comp. If you want to go to a Highland Games, that's a party. I like to put on a party. I like to put on a show.
It's so much more fun.
It's something that everyone can have a memory. Like, that's why I got into the culinary arts is to help create memories for people. Whereas, and the same model goes into Highland Games. It costs money for better or worse. That's what it is. So pay your athletic director is what I'm saying, especially your local athletic.
100%. All right. Will you bring in more high-level track and field athletes to throw with pros and piss people off?
I hope so. I really do. I hope. Look, the right now, the craziness of this is there are no rules. The only rule is that you need an invite. Yes, there are standards, that supposedly, I think it was with the SA or SAAA, maybe they had some number standards to become a pro back in the day, and they're trying to reintroduce that, which is great. Look, that's great. If you're going to get an Olympic athlete, a track and field athlete, to come in and just dabble, to get some interest in, from the track and field world into the Highland Games world. Look, I'm not the world championship. I am not one of the best pro games in the country. That's not what home games is. That's not what NFG is. So, it's a party. It's a place for people to come and hang out. And if an Olympic level athlete is going to come in, I'm going to pay them to come in because of honoring what they've been through to get to the level that they're at now.
And like Matt and I had this conversation, and again, this is a whole nother episode, but so like NASGA has a rule that if an athlete is serving a band in another sport, they won't. But at the same time, NASGA is not a federation. It's not something any of us put money into or necessarily get anything else out of. And the home game scores just went ahead of the athlete, and we haven't released yet, spoiler alert, any sort of guideline on what needs to be used to use that database. So, really, at the moment...
Yeah, depending on what you're looking at, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. So, and you could even just come have them throw and not report their score in the same flight. You could do it any number of ways.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. I think it's funny to not think you should include them in the pro class, especially when we have pros that are just bad. And we have professionals that get invited to games that that Jeremy could beat, or that or they might be a one-trick pony, right? Yeah. Like they might have a 32-foot sheaf, and that's great, and then they throw an open stone 35 feet, and who cares? And so, like, we have guys that are already only getting invites because they can turn big cavers. And so to not invite someone when they are a 74-foot shot putter seems ridiculous, right? Like,
I mean, even in home games, he threw pro numbers in the stones.
Right.
Yeah. Except his weights, but that is to be expected.
No, in the stones.
His stones. Yeah, no, they were
half inch below my Braemar.
But yeah. In his first game, yeah.
Yeah, well, he throws rocks far. So
No, but that's the whole thing, and that this is the jokes like this is why I love doing it. Like that you can say that now, that was years in the making to contact Nick.
Yeah, and I will forever joke about it. And honestly, at this point, me and Nick are boys. I bust his balls. I don't give a shit.
I think it's great.
I'm here for it.
I'd love more Nick for it.
And look, and it just goes back to, look, I can only control what I can control with an NFG and home games and the games that I manage. That's all I can do. And that's all that anyone who's asking all these questions, you're going to just control what you can control. I'm going to have a party, and if I can invite and they can come on their own dime too, to an extent, Nick came on his own dime. He didn't break even. He came on his own dime, after all said and done. With equal payouts, that's really cool. It's really cool that you can just sit and have a conversation. We can sit and have a podcast in a Holiday Inn in Milford, Massachusetts.
It's amazing.
And
it was a Holiday Inn, Matt. You're right.
Right? A Holiday Inn Express. Sorry. And that's what I mean. Like it's a memory creator. And look, I'll tell you what, and this is really where I felt in terms of the validation or the authority of why I felt I could do this. Bill Crawford told me this is one of his dreams, is to get Joe Kovacs. He knows Joe Kovacs, to get Joe Kovacs to come and throw in the Highland Games, but his wife is not allowing him to. That's the only reason why he hasn't done it yet. It's actually right, and so because look, he's in the Olympics right now, but.
Yeah. You're telling me that's better than this?
But that's the whole thing, is like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, if Dr. Bill Crawford, who is one of the people who run the Scottish Men's World Championship, says that that's something he would do, that's okay, even just to come and do an exhibition and throw with the pros, become a pro, do the 5 events at least. I'm like, well, why? Okay, great. So that means that's a green light. I can do that. So anyone who's hating on that, I'm not that I'm passing the buck or throwing Dr. Bill Crawford under the bus, but it's like if he says that's okay, and that's something that helps promote the sport.
You're just adding legitimacy to that way of thinking. Is all that is. You know that.
Yeah. And look, I talked to Steve Conway too, and these are men that I have an immense amount of respect for what they've done for the sport, and who I try to be like, or I tried and I'm very imperfect in that, and I know that. And at the same time, like, Steve was like, hey, if Nick wants to keep coming and keep throwing like he does in Maine, and then come throw with you guys, that's a win. That's a win. Because look, like when he posted that video of him in the kilt with the NFG shirt from home games, that was the Cerberus USA photographer. That was a professional photographer, which costs money. And that video got over 25,000 views or something like that. He just posted it for fun, like that's and look, that's a drop in the bucket compared to other accounts and in terms of viewership and all that. Look, I understand that. But I tell you what, a lot of track and field people are like, whoa, what is Nick Ponzio doing throwing in the Highland Games? Like, that's pretty cool.
If someone go listen to that episode and hear him preach about the Highland Games, like, it's a huge selling point.
You know what, guys? I really think that whoever is, the dozens of people who listen to this podcast, I really think, and I hope it becomes thousands, that episode is a really valuable episode for our community. And I think people really should listen to that Nick Ponzio episode because of what he says about the Highland Games and how he just is like, he's baited. He loves it now, and the community and what throwing is supposed to be about from an Olympian like that. Yeah. The things that he says and that are fantastic, and I'm really glad that you guys made that podcast.
100%.
Or episode. Sorry, did that episode.
Yeah. And I'm glad we were able to. I couldn't have done it if I hadn't gone up there. So.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What else we got? We're taking time.
So we're going to try and breeze through a couple of these. This one's really fast because somebody asked, should the goal be to get as many athletes on the field or asses in seats? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I
Each
think
team
like that
together.
really depends on the games, and it depends on the festival. It depends on what's happening.
Yes.
A backyarder versus a festival. I think that those two are not mutually exclusive. I think that they can both work together, and but at the same time, I do think that quality should trump all of that. And in order to get more asses in seats, you usually need more quality. You need more quality individuals throwing.
For
And
sure.
with athletes, there has to be a balance of games in a local, region where there are games that have more, amateur oriented or more backyarder focused, and then there's festivals that are more elite, where you have this pinnacle kind of effect, and that's how a sport or a games or a community, sustains itself and grows. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'd agree wholeheartedly. Diversity of having it ultimately to accomplish both. You should have games where, hey, everyone gets to come out and throw, and you also should have games where you get to lift up the pinnacle and put.
Yeah, exactly what NFG, not to just plug it NFG, but that's essentially what we're doing in New England, is to try and help with both the elite. Now the festival at Fort 4 is the elite games. All of the, what was the super elite athletics of Loon that transferred over to the festival 4-4. And look, I wish the best for Loon. I wish the best for Allison, who is managing it now, and I'm sure she's a great AD. She has a lot of experience. She's going to get a lot of people up there, and I wish them all the best. I don't want to see games destroyed. I want to see games continue. But I will say this, and this is a really important point for this episode, is that there is a reason why Loon went back. They were not going to have pro athletics. There's a reason why Loon decided to get Allison and get pro athletes, elite athletes back at Loon.
Yeah.
And legally, I don't want to say too much more, but I definitely had a lot to do with that behind
Yeah.
the scenes, and that's something that I'm proud of.
Well, good.
Oh.
This is also just a fun, potentially quick one.
Yeah.
And Matt and I have talked about this before. Should we have a clean sport? And I'm taking clean to mean steroids.
Yeah, look, I think the World Championship. I think that's something that I would say. Yeah, I can understand why for World Championships, men and women, that they should be that it should be clean. I can see why that would be that. I do though. I'm not. I don't take PEDs or steroids or HGH or any of that stuff. Um, I think but I'm not opposed to it. I think that I had a conversation with Hayden Ballieu about this back in the day. That he, I think that Highland Games and the pro classes. Look, this goes back to: is the pro class for entertainment, or is it for like Olympic style athletics?
Mm-hmm.
If you are of the mentality that it's for entertainment, like WWE, then it's an open, or strongman. Yeah. It's open field. Take whatever you want. If you're gonna, if you, it's your body, it's your life, it's your risk.
Yeah, they're your tendons.
Rip them off. Well, yeah, and I've lost friends to tren and steroids. Like I've lost, literally, they've gone off the deep end, and so I could see either way. Like, look, if it's going to be Olympic, if it's going to be an Olympic sport, then obviously that's going to be clean. But I tell you what, after that episode with Nick Ponzio and WADA and all the drama with that,
oh yeah,
because look, he got tested 3 times within that span before he got banned, and he was clean every time. That's some fishy ass shit. And if
I also
politics
think he's become just a bully WADA. Yeah, I think he posted about it today, and I was like, bold choice.
He's bold, but it's so unjust. How can you just sit there? He got screwed.
Yeah.
And he must have pissed somebody off. He must have gone to bed with someone's wife who not in the wrong place, and So should it be clean? I'm of the opinion that I'm not going to ever test athletes.
Costs too much money.
Yeah,
That's also incredible amounts of money. So if we're gonna do a clean sport, your registration fee is going to be like $200.
Right. And look, there seemed to be enough demand for that people really wanted one. Hey, someone could out there run a drug-free game. That could be their advertising point. You're going to pay a shitload of money to go.
National Championships drug test. So, like at the point that it matters, we already get drug tests.
Yeah, look, and I gotta say something about this with Spencer Tyler, because look, I know Spencer's an imperfect person for different things, but he's always been a really great guy with me. He's always been a super cool dude. He's he's look, he came out to NFG on his own dime for those times that he came out, and moreover, I know who watched him piss into a cup for the 2019 World Championship, and it was clean.
Yeah.
So look, I think that people who hate on Spencer, like that's an accolade, and that should not be taken away from him. And I was talking with a few pros about that very thing, about the 2019 and him pissing clean. And they were like, wow, then a lot of the pro class owes Spencer Tyler a big apology, the men and women. A lot of them owe him an apology. And I thought that was a really interesting thing for them to just say by themselves. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Like, he's a great guy with me. I feel like I know the new Spencer Tyler from what I've heard, and an incredible dude. And I'm sure that I know for a fact that there are a lot of pros currently throwing who are not clean. So now, I know a lot of amateurs, non-pros, who throw and are not clean, especially in the masters class. So
it's honestly probably much more plentiful. Yeah. It's the same way in every sport. It's the same way in strongman. It's the same way in anything.
Well, like if I'm recruiting people from strongman over to the high, like I got to tell you, half the field isn't going to be clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a problem with that. Here's the thing. People asses in the seats, they want to see bombs being thrown. Sponsors, they want to see bombs being thrown. They want to see athletes just like WWE strongman are yelling and ripping it and loving up the crowd. They want that for amateurs too. It's a show. Like, especially if you're at a festival, you're there to put on a show. If like some place like Home Games, it's a show for each other. It's a show for out of respect and camaraderie and honoring our sport and excellence in our sport with each other as athletes and throwers, and just having fun and talking shit and bragging rights and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
All right, on to the next one. Matt, unlock your thing.
There you
go. Why are you sticking with the name No Fame if it's obviously very much about the fame and just pros? Was it always intended to be ironic?
Yeah, there is. I mean, look, that's a fair. It's a fair point for what they're saying. I think I get what they're getting at. In the beginning, No Fame Game was not this big, right? It was total backyard. No one knew anything about us, and it was a group of 10 to 15 guys, and we were just coming up with names, and then No Fame Games popped up, and we were like, that sounds awesome, and because two things that of why the real focus of that name. Yes, now there's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. It's a drop in the bucket compared to other sports. Like, it's nothing. We still no one.
But for the physical we live in.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's kind of the allure and the irony too of like, if this is continuing to grow, then people are like, oh, No Fame. But what was No Fame is now getting more fame, is now getting more attention. If that's where it's going, it means I'm doing my job as a Highland Games promoter. The two things I was going to say with No Fame is, one, we wanted, coming out of COVID, to bring the focus away from fame, of like the trophies and of, you know, the bling and everything, and just like winning and numbers and competition, to going back to the camaraderie, going back to why we're here throwing with each other. It's not about the fame, it's about our community, it's about us coming together having fun. And I think that home games, I hope at least, you know, Jeremy experienced that at home games, is that it was community, it was about throwing together, it was about fun. um, and so that's one part of no fame, or the meaning behind no fame. The other part was we wanted to give honor and attention back to those who haven't had fame, like, you know, Kenny Gustafson, or the people in our community that were always behind the scenes, and we wanted to bring them forward to honor them and to celebrate them, to give them recognition that they deserve.
Sorry, we're douchebags.
What are you laughing at?
No. Sorry. That to me, the very nice message.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Good for keeping it light. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Anyway,
Good.
it's good. It's good.
It's good soup.
I think the last one of these submitted questions was, I think I remember it. Why do you have a problem with women speaking out?
What's up with that?
Yeah.
So specific. This is like so specific to one female who I wake up to getting a message that I've been tagged in a story post, totally demolishing Nick Ponzio coming out. And so and this person, we had a rapport where, you know, we were talking about a bunch of different subjects, and one of them was this woman was complimenting me and the team for standing up against bullies. And so we were, you know, we had a fairly good rapport. So I'm not just going to let an offensive, low class post go unchecked. And whether it's man or woman, or male or female, or in between, or other. And I think that it's being that's a skew to what the real issue was, and it's a scapegoat. Like I listen to my wife every day. I follow my pecking order of, you know, who's in charge of things in the house and life. I have no problem with being told, you know, by a woman, or having them, you know, confront or have an issue or come forward. That's fine. But I don't like when things are done disrespectfully. And if something is done disrespectfully, then I mean, I can choose to either be an asshole and be disrespectful back, or just call it out and say, hey, this could have been, we can have a conversation about this subject, instead of just being blasted, you know, where I thought that we had a better relationship, but I guess we didn't. So that's the roundabout way, I guess, of saying that. Please, sir.
Follow-ups to that, because that one is not my realm. That was the question that was asked, so oh, well, if you do that. So this is the one time where I don't have to follow up, and you do. Holy shit.
Yeah. Matt actually says words. All right. So what was what is actually complaint about Ponzio in the game? Like, why are people upset?
It was, from what I understand, it was only one person.
Okay.
Actually, it was one person and their partner, who is a mid-level pro, who I have respect for as a person. And I'm not going to call names out, because that mid-level pro and I had a back and forth, and it was very heated. Obviously, you know, he was doing the male thing of defending his partner and all of that. And once we got through the shit, you know, it came out that it was. It goes back to the conversation of what is the pro class? Is it entertainment, or is it this elite thing where it has to be numbers based? And, you know, is it controversial that we asked, or I asked, NFG asked Nick Ponzio to come out, having never thrown in a Highland Games? Yeah, of course. But the amount of goodness and good things and good memories and times that have come from it very much outweighs, less than a handful of people who seem to have a problem with it, And then when I went over, particularly when I went over the pay, when it was equal payouts, and everyone got a room and equal payouts, then it's not like, yeah, of course he's an Olympian. He's going to get my attention because, we cultivated a relationship over a year, a couple years. But I don't, yeah, I mean, you would probably know more about what were a lot of the, issues from a track or from like a Highland Games background or in a track and field background. But it just seemed like it was, oh, he's never thrown before. How can he be a pro? Well, he threw stones. And if right now there are pros who are one trick ponies throwing in the pro class, then that's hypocritical for people to come out.
Right.
And when the pro class is invite only, meaning that you need, in order to become a pro, you just say, I'm going pro. Where are my invites? Well, here's your invite, Nick Ponzio, and, enjoy. Thank you for coming. Thank you for flying all the way from where you are to invest in our sport and to join our community, to throw with us. And the amount of exposure that it gets to for our sport, like that's what big ADs have all said to me, like, man, this is the amount. And not only that, but like the elite level pros like Vlad or Glenn or Spencer or John, they all were like, this is fucking awesome that you got Nick to come out. Like they weren't like,
nothing bad, like the top 5 of the sport.
no,
Everyone,
literally the top 5 of the sport.
just
And like Garrett, Wes, Jonathan, they're all like, this is fucking incredible that you got Nick to come out. Like, how did you pull that off? Well, I pulled it off because of all the money that I invested into NFG, into the social media accounts, to growing it up, to getting Sports Illustrated involved, to getting Cerberus USA involved over years. That's why Nick was able to come out, was because of all of that. So I'm very imperfect, but I try to I've studied with really amazing people and amazing teachers in all of the professions and realms of life that I involve myself in. And I try to follow their example. And so I don't think small, I try to think big. So,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, cool. That is all of the pre-planned questions. I have one super sneaky surprise question for everyone.
Okay.
Because we gotta make content here. I had heard the rumor that in previous years, pros either didn't get paid the agreed upon amount, or didn't get paid some. There was an issue with like last year and before's pro class. That's all I know. What's up with that? like,
Yeah, that's really sad to hear that, because when we invited pros last year, we had a huge pro class, right? And we said, look, we don't know how much, because this was not a ticketed event last year. It was solely on sponsorships. And that's when Nick and Sandy McPhee were involved, in NFG. And so we just said, hey guys, if you can come out, we'll give you the most that we can. And we'll try to tier it for first, second, and third, and then everyone else gets at least something. It's not gonna, and I said it's not gonna be much, but we didn't have an exact number. They all got the same pay. They got what they got, and they got a room and board, and they got food. And we said, like, this is what it is, guys. There wasn't like we said that they were going to get a certain amount, and then they didn't get that. That's not what happened. There was never, what's crazy is that there was never a certain amount that was agreed upon or even talked about. And that's what all the pros, even afterwards, when some of them were like, hey, this isn't really what I was thinking. And we're like, hey, yeah, I know. We never talked about, we said, we're going to give you the best that we can, because it was not a festival. All of the money was on sponsorships, and we were paying out of our pocket as well. So then when we found out that some of the pros were like upset, we were like, okay, Nick and I both said, we'll pay you more. we'll give everyone another $100. And there were 15 pros, right? So you can do the math. And and we said, look, we want to make sure that you feel good and all of that. And every one of them turned it down because they were like, we thank you for what you're doing. We understand what you're doing for NFG. We don't want to take away from you guys personally. So that's what that was. It's really sad, because look, you guys can understand this as ADs. The amount of time, energy, and effort that goes into organizing this on a yearly basis. It takes a lot out of me and my wife and me personally, and our family. And then at that point, it was Nick and Sandy and their family. And so this is what I mean is that yes, we wanted to help support the pros in the best way that we could, and we did that in the best way that we could.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That was my only little
Look, I'm all about it. I'm all about the questions, and if that's an issue for the pros, I know what some of the locals here would be like. Man, fuck those pros and their attitude and their self entitlement and how important they think they are, and that's why I know a lot of people would say that on this side of the fence too. But look, I want to try and help people. Matt, you even said yourself, like, I don't give a fuck if I get paid. I just want to go throw as a pro, like, and we tried to make it as I said, we had a really big hotel bill last year. So what I think is going to happen in the future for home games is it's going to be the Danny Webster open format, and you pay your way, and then you just.
Honestly, it feels like it falls back. It's kind of why I laid everything out at the beginning of this episode. Is like, I try to be exponentially clear up front, and it's a result of doing what I've done as a job for years and years. But like sometimes it can't be, and then people get their feelings hurt, and it just becomes a whole thing. And it's the nature of the beast. Sometimes you can't avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're taking all the liability. I'm not making money out of this. We're taking all the liability. We're taking all the risk. And then a pro wants to come up when, I'm not paying you any less. I'm paying you everything I got or everything that we agreed upon or the conditions that we agreed upon. And then, if you want to complain about it because you're not making Pleasanton money, then that's on you, and I think maybe you're doing this for the wrong reasons right now, anyway, for being a pro in the pro class. I will, and as NFG grows, and now that we're doing ticketing, the goal is to eventually pay more. It's a building process, and I was very clear and upfront with all of the pros about that.
Yeah. I'm always, I'm the type of pro that's more in favor of if everyone is getting better. That's more what we care about. That's more what I care about. I'd much rather see everyone have, 2 comp shirts than have or get fed or whatever it is than me make an extra couple $100. I don't. Yeah. For me personally, that's not what being a pro is about. It's not. It's not enough money to really sway anything. It's enough money to make it hurt a little bit less. But like part of amateur athletics or athletics in general is like the pursuit of something better than yourself, and that takes sacrifice. So like,
it's a weird mix, and people are allowed to look. If you want to try and become a top level pro, you can try that.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe it'll work, and maybe it won't.
Well, and to that extent, like,
what do I know?
Sorry, it broke up a little bit my end. Another part of what I talked to the pros about was I was going to do a lot of reels and really we had Cassie come in, which is expensive, and to film them and then use that content to create reels, which then gets the attention of other festivals, and then ideally they're getting more invites.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to give what a lot of other festivals can give in their budget. But we can try. I said, okay, well, I'll try to also support, and give more recognition or more, awareness around these pros that came, So people are like, oh, wow, this looks really cool. Oh, they put on a show. This looks great. Let's give them an invite. Let's try them out. Who is this person? They get that exposure.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I think that's everything that we had.
Yeah.
You know what? Because maybe I'll make the announcement before then. Maybe I don't think I have a lot to edit out of this episode. I think it went really smoothly. Thank you, Josh, for hooking me up with Sports Illustrated, because they will now be one of our athletic sponsors for our September games.
That's awesome. Congrats, guys. That's huge.
Yeah, I put that out here because the whole thing was kind of clearing up a lot of stuff. And I sat down with someone today who said, "Hey, I'm going to Maine. What can I expect? Like what?" I was like, "Well, one, I've only done one of their games. It was home game. It wasn't like an established festival. It was a different thing."
Yeah.
And my explanation was, anytime I've had a long form conversation with Josh, I have enjoyed it.
Huh. I
said, I think the only people that have ever had something negative to say about going up there are people that have had very brief interactions and don't understand the why.
Yeah.
That if you ever peel back a layer, you can kind of figure out, like, hey, most of the things he's doing are hopefully to further what we've got going on. And I don't think that someone with poor expectations is going to call me over the July 4th weekend and go, do you want the information for the guy at Sports Illustrated so that you can try and get them on board at your festivals? Like, that doesn't make me think that it's someone who doesn't want everyone to do that. So.
Yeah, look, I will say, if I have put an impression in anyone's mind that I am not doing this for the benefit of the games and of the community, then it's sad to hear that, because I do feel, but if that's the truth, then I wish I could just sit down and have a conversation like I have with you guys. And I welcome anybody, if they have issues, to come and talk to me, to come and just have a conversation with me. And I don't know, this says it's reconnecting.
Oh, he's coming back.
Oh, what, you got me?
There we go. All right.
Where'd you lose me?
It should honestly give me your recording from your side. What it'll do after we get all done is it'll upload from your side and mine. Okay. So I got that. If you've ever gotten
the impression,
if anyone's ever gotten that impression, you'd like to sit down and have a conversation like you do with us, and
yeah,
drop on our side. So
yeah, that's really it, and there's a lot of other really big things down the pipeline coming up, and I hope that people can see NFG, as imperfect as it is in some ways, for what the greater picture that we're trying to build, and what it really stands for. It stands for all of us together. It doesn't just stand for me. It's never stood for Josh Macintosh. It stood for all of the athletes in New England and all over the States and now world, people all over the world contacting us, and fucking Peru and Chile, and just it's cool to see that. It's a little daunting, but it's also like, look, if there's things that I can clear up, so if people are upset or frustrated, really just come have a conversation with me. And you may not like everything I say. I may not agree with everything you're saying, but I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to be cordial, and I'll treat you as a human being, and as you deserve, So I appreciate you guys, given an opportunity just to come on here and hopefully clear some things up, because I want us to move forward, and and not and also have NFG be on its best foot moving forward. So if this episode can help with that, then not because I have some ulterior motive or like some hidden agenda that I'm trying to use people, or look, I'll be really honest. I work as a private chef for billionaires and celebrities. I don't need to do this. I don't need to be here. I don't need to be creating NFG. Like, I'm doing this out of my heritage, my love for a culture and heritage, and because of people who have made a huge impact in my life, like Dr. Bill Crawford or Martin Janzik, and others, that I want to help carry this into the future in the way that I can. Not that I don't want to be an authority. I don't want you to look at me as some big shot in Highland Games. I'm a regular thrower. I am pretty good at throwing a party, and I'm getting a lot better at it in the Highland Games world. And I love strength, and I love bringing people together. It's what I do every day at work. So I, I hope that kind of can. I don't say that out of arrogance, like I'm a private chef to billionaires. It's just it's my job. I've designed a resume over decades in order to have that, in order to meet that job, to be able to fulfill that job. Um, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't. This isn't something that I need to do, like, for money, or have a financial incentive to make this, to make NFG this 5 or 6 figure thing, which it's not. It's not. Um, but and I hope that other festivals or games like you guys, I hope it can become something that can also help sustain you and to give back to people like yourself, to 80s. I know that that's not your intention, but like, we need to support each other. So when this happened with Sports Illustrated, I was like, hey, look, I don't, this doesn't really benefit me by telling you guys about it's like, I wanted to tell you about it because I think it helped us at home games and NFG. And I hope that it can help you too. Maybe it can, maybe it can. And you guys said that, yeah, it can help you. So, and now you are sponsored by Sports Illustrated. That's really cool, and they really want to bring us into the magazine, into the website, into the forefront. Like, they have a vision too. That's a big vision for what's coming down the pipeline. And that's exciting. And look, for those people who don't want to see Highland Games on ESPN or on a major sports network or be highlighted in magazines, for those people who want it to be like their own little niche thing that doesn't grow, like, then it doesn't have to in your area. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. But for what I have control over and what I manage in home games, if I can help be that, not because I like the limelight or because I want, NFG to be this big, big bad boy thing, but if it can help, if it can be of service to our community and to humanity or whatever it is, or to a track and field, or to a kid, to a son or a daughter who is like who gets inspired by it, like how people were in The World's Strongest Man back in the day. Like, if I can just help it be part of someone's life, that they become great and they find themselves, then that's a win. Because it's what's important is not what we get, but what we give. And I hope that what I can give to the sport, what I can be of service for, can really benefit the sport. And I know that I've done things imperfectly, but for the things that I may have gotten in trouble with or started shit for, there are deeper reasons why I did them, and I just don't talk about it. I just take it on the chin and say, okay, if someone doesn't like me, that's not, like, I understand. That's par for the course. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it. But there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, a lot of stuff legally I can't talk about, because of just because of a lot of bad shit. And I'll tell you what, though, if there is injustice, or there's people who are, I'm not, and again, I'm not trying to be Superman, but it's like, if there is injustice, then the worst thing that a good person can do when there's an injustice is to be silent. And because it just goes on and on and on. And I've been through enough pain and issues in my life, and growing up in the Caribbean, and Force 5 hurricanes and destroying islands, being without power for 6 months, and seeing people shoot and kill each other and loot and steal, and just basically basic anarchy. At a young age, it's like, okay, well, it's really important that we do good in the world, and that's more important than anything that I can ever, any riches or any fame or fortune or whatever that I get. I don't care about that stuff. I'm a former Buddhist monk for years in Thailand. So, like, I've seen a lot of really different crazy shit. And I'm not, again, it's not to my own horn. It's just, this is just my perspective. And I hope that it helps give people who are listening a perspective on who I am, and how I try to, help NFG develop.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. I think it's a great wrap up. A yap for almost. Yeah. So I have wake up and throw tomorrow morning. So
Yeah.
you got anything
Awesome.
else?
No, I mean I'll see you in 3 weeks. So.
That's right. Yeah, you will. Too bad I miss you, Jeremy. You know, it would be fun.
Yeah, no, dude. If money wasn't an object and time wasn't, I had a blast at home game. I would definitely go back for more. It's just
Yeah, you're gonna
I
see.
tried to diversify this year, and one no fame game was as much as I could swing. You know.
All right. Well, hopefully next year. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Cool.
All
Oh,
right.
and I think also you may qualify for the fort next year because of home games. So
Oh,
I'll have to
yeah,
double check on that. But anyway, it would be fun to have you guys come up to the fort because that's a really fun game too.
100%. Logistics wise, with this, it may try to just upload your stuff from your device if it gives you a little progress bar at the end. I'm still learning this, so
Okay.
if you're into something, just let me know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, this is a new app for me, so I don't.
Yeah, same. They stopped supporting the other one that I was using like July something. I don't know.
Okay.
I had to find a new one. So
Gotcha.
here we go.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys, and good luck tomorrow. And Matt, thank you for volunteering. That's awesome.
Of course.
Yeah, man. Coming on.
See ya.